The years leading up to and during menopause are a rite of passage. The wise woman inside of us is calling to slow down, to take stock, to speak our truth, to burn away all that no longer serves us, ready for our next cycle of life. The good news is, with the support, community, connection, and most of all, sharing our stories and being truly seen and heard, we will travel through this powerful, sometimes painful, heroine's journey and out the other side. Welcome to the Menopause Podcast, real and raw stories of midlife and mental health. I'm your host, Kylie Patchett, menopause self-care coach and storyteller, and I am so glad you found us. Let's get on with the show. Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode, everybody. I have the beautiful Ashton Applewhite in the studio today. How are you, Ashton?
I'm great. Thank you. Good to meet you.
You have literally just landed and gotten home from a trip. So I'm really, really grateful for you taking the space to chat with us. For those of the audience who don't already know you, can you introduce yourself? Because your serious bio is way too long for me to read. So can you give us a synopsis?
Long bios are horrible.
Exactly.
I live in New York.
Yes.
I am 70, almost 71 years old.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking of now, the descriptions they give for people who are visually impaired. I'm white. I have brown hair I'm growing out, so it's a good thing you can't see it.
You have beautiful spectacles on. They're very cool.
And I am a writer,
Yes.
and a public speaker,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you could call me an activist.
Yes, you are. Absolutely.
Around awareness of ageism, which is discrimination on the basis of age, which affects younger people as well. It's any judgment on the basis of age. We all experience a lot of it from birth to death, and it's really important to understand it especially in a world of longer lives.
Yes, indeed. And I just before we started recording, I was going to tell you a story, and you went, "Wait, we'll do this on air," because two things. First of all, I feel like I know that there's a thing as ageism, but when I was reading through your blog and your website preparing for this interview, I was like, okay, I was unconscious of a lot of these things. So I feel like I'm just about to be schooled, which I love, because I love the fact that we can have these conversations. And
you've just done the hardest thing, which is to acknowledge that you're biased.
Yeah, welcome
to good company. No one is free of bias. Children, I mean, you learn it. Children don't come into the world racist or sexist, but we learn it because of that. So, my message throughout is always zoom out. Don't think of how I did wrong. Look at the social, political, economic forces around you that are filling our heads with this damaging narrative.
Yep, absolutely. I feel like it is a kind of similar introduction to what I had to have with someone who was speaking specifically about the patriarchy. It's like, yes, all of these times that we have assumed or acted in a way that we've been conditioned to, but when you zoom out, it's like the ocean that we're swimming in is creating this. And so we need to be aware of the ocean. And I feel very unaware of this particular ocean. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I was just about to say to you that for the very first time the other day, I pitched a freelancing gig because I'm also a writer, and I pitched a freelancing gig, got an interview, chatted to a lovely gentleman. I don't know, I guess he would have been in his 20s or 30s, just for context. Had a really positive interview. He said, great, we've got a stable of people that, we'll be able to give you some writing work from. I'll send you an email. You can do the paperwork and we'll set everything up. And have not heard from him since. Followed up a couple of times. I'm like, yeah, it's all right, cool. And then for the very first time in my life, so I'm 48 and a half, I had a thought, maybe I was just too old. And I was like, what the heck just happened in my head? That is like crazy to me.
There's two sides of that.
Yes.
It's entirely possible that he was thinking you were too old, in which case you have encountered discrimination.
Yes.
that's different. I mean, that is real. I mean, there's, and also, gender plays a part.
Yes.
Women experience, the double whammy of ageism and sexism. I just saw a hideous statistic in The Guardian about how the gender pay gap increases dramatically for women as we hit our 40s, 50s, and 60s. So if that was what was happening, which we don't know for sure.
No, we don't.
Then that's, that's the reason, one of the reasons I do the work I do, especially as a feminist. If, on the other hand, which I don't, and I think that's what you were saying, but it could be taken to mean, oh, I'm too old for that job or for that company, or to write about pop culture, for example, or, new fashion trends.
Mm-hmm.
And that way of thinking I would push back on, because there's no such thing as too old.
No.
You might be too inexperienced. You might be too lazy. You might be
just not have,
you might need to do some homework on pop culture.
Yes.
But you can be, you can educate yourself in any subject, whether you're 88 or 8, right? It's funny, that brings to mind something that came up on my, one of my many social media feeds about one of these classic things of when does old begin? Oh, it was about an anti-ageism curriculum that they're launching in Brooklyn high schools, which is exciting. And it quoted a teenager saying she felt old because her 6-year-old sibling and their friends knew songs on TikTok that she didn't know.
Oh, wow.
Right. So this stuff is lifelong. It's only a problem if old means negative. In
Correct.
that case, it probably does. She's like, oh my God, this awful thing is happening to me. And so I'm sorry, I'm sort of digressing here.
No, it's good. It's good because
topic does that. So I would urge you not to feel too old for anything except perhaps having children or, extreme sports. I mean, those are that we time out of. Our bodies grow.
I'm done.
And
I'm definitely done.
Fertility times out. But nothing else, honest to God, should be bound by our biological age.
Do you know, as you're talking, I'm also becoming aware that I did, because you just said it can happen at any age. So when I think about ageism, like my immediate thing is, ageism against people getting older. But what you're saying is it can happen at any age. So it can be older people thinking younger people have no idea, for instance.
Exactly. And we live in a society very much obsessed with youth. Older people bear the brunt of it. But my definition of ageism is we are being ageist. And again, we all are. These thoughts occur to all of us all the time. Anytime we make an assumption about a person or a group of people on the basis of how old we think they are, including you're too young. What could that young person possibly know?
Well, that's what I'm actually becoming aware of.
That writing job. I mean, maybe you weren't old enough to get that job.
Yeah, maybe. But do you know what? I'm doing exactly the same thing in reverse, because automatically where my head goes, well, first of all, I was like, oh, that's a bit odd that he didn't email me straight away. Because you get that feeling in an interview and you're like, oh, yeah, good fit.
Young people are rude.
Yes.
That would be an ageist stereotype.
Exactly. I just realized that I was doing the same thing to him that I think that I perceive might be happening to me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like sticky.
But Kylie, that is where it starts.
Yeah.
Almost all bias is unconscious, and we can't challenge bias unless we're aware of it.
Yes.
And the first most necessary and uncomfortable bit is to do this, my son's girlfriend used to call it a no shit, oh shit moment, where you're like, oh rats, I am caught up in this. So it's fantastic that you did that, because now you can start to think differently. And especially, we haven't thought as much about age bias as we have about other forms of bias. So these are new ideas to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
the
last thing, you should pat yourself on the back. Don't beat yourself up.
No, I'm not beating myself up, but I'm just realizing that, like I was saying, like I'm swimming in this ocean and I'm kind of going, well, maybe because he is a young person in a, startup, that means a particular thing about
air
him
quotes,
and his
lots
people.
Of air quotes for you listeners.
So many air quotes. And like that should be, should be an indication bullshit is coming, because I'm using air quotes. I'm I'm interested to know when I was reading through a lot of the stuff that you talk about, and also I highly recommend, I'll put in the show notes, Ashton's TED talk, which is called Let's End Ageism. It is a really, really good, eye-opening smack in the head. Yeah. What did you just say? Oh shit, no shit, no shit, oh shit. That moment.
No shit. Oh shit.
That's totally what I felt like. I felt like, holy moly, because we had booked this interview in a little bit of a while ago. So I watched, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, and then rewatched again last night. And I was like, still, it seems all new to me, which says to me that it hasn't been pulled enough from my unconscious, conditioned kind of way of seeing things. When I was reading, to me, ageism, sexism, racism, gender bias, like all of these isms or differences it's a power thing, isn't it? It's like one person has the power, one person is more right, and the other person
prejudice exists to cement power relations, to keep people with most power and privilege on top by pitting us against each other, whether it's
exactly
of low-wage factory workers or stay-at-home moms arguing with moms in the paid workforce about who's a better mother, or old people saying those young people, they don't know anything, and the young in the workforce, and the young people saying, if only those old people would go away, we could have more jobs. Total fallacy. Both of those are fallacies. But 100%. Then we're fighting with each other instead of doing the thing we already talked about once just in this short conversation of zooming out and looking at who benefits from these systems. There's a great quote by a scholar here in the States named Amos Wilson. And he contextualizes it in the US, but I think it's true anywhere there's capitalism, which is pretty much anywhere.
Yes.
If you want to understand any problem in the United States, don't look at who suffers from it. Look at who profits.
Who benefits. Yep. Who profits? So let me ask you this then. Who does profit from making us as we age? And I know this is both genders, but let's talk specifically about women as we age. Who profits from keeping us down or not as good as?
Broadly speaking, men, a patriarchy is a system in which men have more power. And no one gives up power without a struggle.
What automatically makes people think that you said about, what is old? What does getting old mean? Why is it automatically a negative connotation? And I feel like I personally have the benefit of having my dad was 55 when I was born. So I was a teenager when he was in his sort of 70s and, 20-year-old in his 80s, etc. And because of his circle of friends all being the same age, I've always been around older people. And I love, and I've worked in aged care before because of this, I love older people and their wisdom and all of the things that they can, I guess it is the perspective that comes from just years in, right? You cannot.
Yes, although I will be contrarian and say, older people have more experience. That doesn't necessarily make us wise. I think
that is true. That is true.
Who don't appear to have learned a thing along the way.
I could
also see that I love that you had this experience, but I could see it going the other way. I remember a truly dismal meeting when I was trying to sell my manifesto to a publisher, and we had this great meeting, and it so happened that everyone around the table was a woman except this guy who was the editor-in-chief, I believe. Now that's sexist, a gender assumption on my part.
Yes.
But, I'm pitching the thing, and there's lots of just and blah, 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 and excitement. And he says, my mother worked in a nursing home, or what we call aged care, aged care. And he said, those older people frightened me. And I don't think he said disgusted me, but something, I really mean that. I mean, I can't remember the word he used, and it wasn't that bad, but he didn't like being there. It scared him and it repelled him. And if you think you're going to get me to change my mind, think again. So granted, that's someone who is in contact with older people who required nursing care, who were very debilitated. I don't say this to judge him, except he was really narrow-minded as an editor. That's not a good reason to turn a book down.
No,
but
absolutely not.
Entitled to his feelings, right? You were surrounded by older people who, and there are a million other variables, your social class situation, the role your mom played, what kind of parents they were, blah, blah, blah. You took away the exact opposite experience.
Yeah.
And I will say that most people who go into Ageland, as I call it, many of them did so because they had contact, typically with grandparents.
Yes.
Right. Or they were raised in intergenerational households where they had daily. And of course, if you have contact with queer people, then you don't believe stereotypes about queer people, or
exactly.
Always the way.
Yes. Yeah. True. I also have this kind of, I don't know, I always say, if I'm around someone who's got particularly a negative view of something, and I don't share it, I'm just like, that's not my story. And it's as in, that's just not the way I see things. I feel like I have looked forward to getting older because my dad was 91 and still prancing around and driving, and he was sharp as a tack and, full of life and zest. And so I don't have the frame of an 80 or a 90-year-old having to be debilitated or any of those things. But I do think that,
say, as a little footnote,
that
it's also important to acknowledge that our cognitive decline is not inevitable.
No, this is the other thing.
It's not, but our bodies do slow down. Our night vision. It's great that your dad is driving, but many people cannot prance, and it's just important. And it took me a long time. I hope you don't think that I'm admonishing.
No.
But to, not to equate aging well or a good old age with an absence of physical infirmity, because, we age well, not avoiding these things. Physical decline is inevitable. We age well by adapting to them. And we as a society need to destigmatize those things.
Hey gorgeous, we interrupt this gold for a delicious invitation. If your whole body has been whispering more lately, more voice, more truth, more satisfaction, more clients of the soulmate variety, more cash, more you, then this invitation is for you. Potent, my sister mind is officially open. This is my high touch, holy fuck, I'm ready sister mind for rebels in good girl clothing who are done outsourcing their power and diluting their magic to fit into someone else's business formula. If you have been craving a space where your strategy, your voice, and your energy all get to be offered, honored, refined, and amplified, this is it. Inside of Potent, you'll get my eyes on your business every single week, copy mentoring, and that is for brand copy and content storytelling that turns your truth into client catnip, energetic recalibration that helps you unhook old learned limitation patterns, keeping you quiet, not being seen, not being heard, real-time, high-touch, one-on-one coaching that actually sees the bigness of your vision, and the kind of sisterhood that does not flinch when you show up in your full, messy, brilliant, phoenix rising from the ashes glory. This isn't surface level support. It's deep, potent, paradigm shifting work that changes who you are as a woman in business and a woman in life. We start in August. Early open access is open right now. For the month of June 2025, inside of this early access open doors period, you will receive juicy bonuses, extended payment plans, and access immediately to my entire library of storytelling gold. You'll find all the juicy details at kyliepatchett.com/potent. And we fill spaces, and there's only 10 of them, and more than likely only 5 by the time you listen to this, because by that time I will have offered them to the existing cohort, the beautiful original OG circle. We do actually take applications on a first come, first served basis. So come and apply, and let's get back to the magic of the episode. And I think also, is there not a part where we don't have to believe that, like, there's so many things in what you just said. I feel like a common expectation is that as you age, you get, I don't know, slower in the mind, slower in the body, not as engaged in life. It seems to me that there's lots and lots of negative connotations, which I don't share. But why, I know you answered the patriarchy before, what are we getting out of making age a bad thing? Is it that we're scared of
you're making older people disposable, just like disabled people, or black
benefits from that?
They have less value. If they have less value as human beings, I mean, we invented, we humans, we white humans, we colonialists invented race as a way to
separate
give people with lighter skin someone to feel superior to, and to dehumanize people with darker skins to excuse our exploitation of them.
Oh, makes you sick, actually, when you start thinking about it, doesn't it? In the best possible way, because it just, that, like you said before.
And racism is a fool's mugs game to compare biases. They're all bad.
Yes.
And they all depend on and reinforce each other. And the flip side of that is we need to work against them all. But racism, especially in the US, deserves our special attention because of the way it is embedded in our history and our national failure to do any serious reckoning still.
I think we can share that sentiment with Australia. We have this day of supposed apology, which is in my mind, lip service. But anyway, that's a whole other interview.
Whole other can
other can of worms.
They are related in this larger, sense of, all prejudice operates to pit us against each other so that to benefit existing power structure.
I think that's really important for us to remember. If we are fighting amongst each other, there is someone above.
Yeah, a little anecdote. I worked for a long time as a writer at the Museum of Natural History here, and I was not the oldest person there, but close. And the older woman, older than me, came in, and she knew that I was writing and thinking about this, and she was just, pissed off. She said and she had turned 70, I believe, or was about to. Maybe it was even 60. I don't remember how long ago it was. I've always had a terrible memory, for the record. She said, I was at this party and this woman was going on and on about how horrible it was going to be to turn 40 and how stressed she was. And I just wanted to smack her. And not literally, but I was able for once to think of the right thing to say and to get her to gently zoom out and say, Chris, the same things that are making her 40th so fraught are the same things that are making your 70th so fraught, right? It is a shared enemy, a shared opponent, shared by all women.
Yeah.
She's not the enemy. She's not, she wasn't very thoughtful, but
no, she wasn't very conscious or sensitive.
Right, but let's not get bogged down on that. Let's see how we can join forces against the larger issues here.
So when you think about ageism in terms of how it shows, like, what the biggest threads of damage that it's doing is that it's devaluing us as we become older. It's pitting us against one another. When we talk about, you said about the gender pay gap before, I've just finished reading, it's a book by, I don't even have it up there at the moment. It's called Aging Against the Machine, by Melissa Doyle and Nima Brown it is. But Melissa Doyle is like a pretty well-known TV celebrity here. And as she has aged, she's got less and less work. So I think she's 53 or something,
it's
right?
Merciless for women in TV and the
horrible. And she and the book talks about a number of different things, but it definitely addresses the kind of disposability of us as soon as we kind of get to the late 40s, particularly as women in the workforce. It's just like there's no use for us. And I actually have had many cringeworthy moments looking back at, like, I worked in forensic science when I was quite young. And I remember as a I don't know, I think I was 24 when I first got my job supervising in that lab. I remember this lady who would have been probably in her mid-40s, and she was a much quieter lady, very quite shy, quite retiring. And I remember myself, and this is an awful, awful memory because I just think, how much damage did I do? Me as a 24-year-old, bloody arrogant little whippersnapper who thought everyone should be able to go at like warp speed because that was the speed that I like to do life at. And I just think the discomfort and the powerlessness and the awful environment that would have been for that poor lady. And now I'm thinking, so I was ageist in my 20s. Now I'm like, I just feel like it's eyeballs looking in both directions and it's all relative. And now that I'm talking to you, I'm like, it's just me against her. It's me thinking as a 24-year-old who can go faster that I somehow have some superiority or more value than that person.
But that's a totally reasonable assumption since we live in a culture that values speed.
That's
right?
awful.
Yeah, well, hello capitalism. We humans are, cogs in a machine, and the more we can turn. I mean, a very short answer to the question of why is ageism so widespread. It's right there in my TED Talk, which I was forced to memorize. Hideous experience. If aging is turned into a problem, then we can be sold things to stop or air quotes around fix it. And also, if physical changes that accompany age, it's utterly variable. But as some part of your body is going to slow down. That's sure, right?
Realistically.
But if all these transitions are pathologized, like wrinkles, for example, which no one ever died of too many wrinkles, then we can be persuaded to buy things to, again, fix or stop or cure things. And, age-related disease is a thing. There are, but there are very few actual diseases of age. Aging is not a disease.
Yes.
Aging is living. It starts the minute we're born. So no one dies of old age, right? And I know this is a little bit semantic, but if you can be persuaded, and it's always complicated, there's always two sides, but take hormone, your hormone, estrogen and testosterone diminish. If you, I'm sure there are people, I'm not a doctor, I'm not saying don't take hormones do take, but if you can be persuaded that that is a sign that you are sick, or that if you took some drugs because, then everything would be fine. Well, who makes money off that? The billion-dollar global pharmaceutical industry and the multi-billion-dollar, cosmetics industry, of which the anti-aging, market is a huge piece of, and so on. So again, look at who profits from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hilariously, I spend a lot of time in the menopause/perimenopause sort of circle because of where I focus my coaching practice. And there's a terminology at the moment called estrogen deficiency. It's not an estrogen deficiency. Menopause is a very normal, natural state for initiation point in a woman's life to go through. And so we're not estrogen deficient, nor is a prepubescent girl, because they're at the estrogen levels that are natural for that stage of life. I just think it's like, stop medicalizing. But if you
market it as a deficiency, then you can sell people stuff to cure that. I mean, the language is full, especially around women's health, of deficiency and failure.
Yeah. And I feel like there is a massive advantage in keeping people in a capitalist system seeking, because then there is a like by definition.
Job is to seek.
It's seek, keep the cog turning. So if I feel completely at home in myself, there's no seeking. So therefore I start to question all of the ocean that we're living in.
No one has ever made money off satisfaction.
No, 100%. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I had a moment last night where I had this just beautiful flow of a day where I did some writing and then I did some podcast interviews. I just had this lovely day, and I thought, as my head hit the pillow, I am deeply satisfied. And I thought, isn't that a gift to arrive I'm not saying that that's my state all of the time, but to arrive in that state and feel that I am not needing anything at all. And it also makes me think about this kind of concept of enoughness. And I think what we're talking about is the same concept. Is if you keep people in not enoughness, then they will spend money on solving.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we have a useful model here with the, body acceptance, fat acceptance.
Yes.
If you are never, and we are saying, I mean, there's useful models around all of this,
Yes.
It's heavily gendered because women are punished for not conforming to a norm that, and of course there's no such norm, and what norm there is centers whiteness, centers blondness, centers
thinness.
But the further you diverge from that, the more money and effort you should spend trying to become something you are not, so that you can be valued, and in a way that also punishes all the other women around you.
I know, and never allows anyone to just be who they are. I am interested to hear what you would say about even the concept of anti-aging. Like, I feel like you could go and speak about this for 600 years. When you hear anti-aging, what do you actually want to say to the person? Well, what do you want to say to the system that creates this need for anti-aging?
Well, that depends a little bit on the context. And I can think of the beauty industry, which we've already touched on.
Yes.
I mean, I want to say, aging is living. So think twice about what anti-aging products promise. Another very prominent place that it crops up in is sort of in bioscience and life extension stuff, which is mainly, I'm glad you're sitting down for this shocking revelation, wealthy white men.
No.
I know. It's, who really think that what the world needs is for them never to leave it. I mean,
yes,
I know,
that's a good idea.
There we go. We need you. We don't not only need more of you, we need you around forever.
No.
But I digress. But anti-aging in that sense frames aging as the enemy
and negative.
Right. Well, because there is a self-senescence. That's a real thing. And self-senescence is a problem. If we didn't have self-senescence, we wouldn't have arthritis, and we wouldn't have macular degeneration, and we wouldn't have tons of other, for the third time, things in your body fall apart. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they didn't? Wouldn't it be fantastic if we understood the basic biology of aging more, which we don't because of ageism, because people don't want to study it because there's no money and no shiny cars. It's not sexy.
As you're talking,
but just to finish the idea, so I am all in favor of learning more about the biology of aging and how we slow self-senescence and cure age-related diseases. Arthritis, that's my ailment. Wouldn't that be the shit? But the problem is age-related conditions. The problem is not aging. And one of the reasons, I mean, why, I've made this argument to some of these people. I mean, they're not really anti-aging, they're anti-dying. They're actually trying to live forever. And that is really a fool's game. But I point out two things to them, not that they're listening. That the reason,
but if they ever want to.
I mean, that they are really talking about immortality science, not anti-aging, and correct. The reason they might have a hard time getting funding is if aging is pitted as the enemy. But the truth is they get funding because we're afraid of dying. And
that is a very different thing, isn't it?
It's a very different thing. People conflate aging and dying. They say, ageism is normal or excusable or natural, which is not a word I've learned to be very careful of, except in the context in which you just used it, in the sense of like age-related
life cycle,
changes that occur to most people within a certain, range of time. But in fact, we are aging from the minute we're born. And dying is a discrete biological event that happens at the end of all that living. right? And yes, older people are reminders of mortality. There's always a piece of that. Again, there's always two sides. But people may look at me and think I'm ancient, but they don't look at me and think that I'm dying.
No. Oh, I don't think either of those things.
There's a dishonesty. I mean, a little bit of it is semantic, but in what these people are doing, and they're doing us no favors because they're framing aging as something to be be afraid of, the loss of physical function as something that is not inevitable. And last but not least, okay, great. You find the magic elixir, you get to live forever. You really want to live forever in a world that treats you like a second-class citizen?
But
what about the world in which we age?
The geneticist, I'm a geneticist by training. The geneticist in me is like your body, your world, the everything needs to be in balance. So if we start actually interrupting what is a natural, physiological, biological event, then shit is going to get even worse than what it is in our planet. Like that, anyway, that's a whole other kettle of fish. I'm interested, Ashton, when you were a younger person, like what age were you when you became aware of ageism? Like, did you have a moment where you were like, oh my God,
I never thought about it. I mean, I didn't think about it at all. I started on this path because I hit my mid-50s and I was like, oh crap, this is happening to me. And I am like, I have all this free-floating anxiety around it.
Yes.
And being nerdy me. And I mean, I was completely ignorant. I had swallowed the company line, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. Drunk the Kool-Aid.
I had drunk the Kool-Aid, as we do, but I am a, nerdy person who likes to learn more about things. And so I started, learning about longevity, interviewing people in their 80s and 90s, and realized in a matter of, it was literally months. It feels like seconds, that almost everything I thought I knew was way negative or not nuanced enough or flat out wrong. So I just became obsessed. Why don't we know this shit? And we don't know it for all the big reasons we've already discussed.
Yeah, of course. So where do we start? Like, number one,
you start right where you started.
Admit that you have no flipping awareness of this at all and start pulling things.
A little less, a little more appealingly. Look at your own attitudes towards age and aging.
Yeah.
Think about how you use the words old and young.
Yeah. And what stories are associated.
That thing.
Yes.
People say, I don't feel old. What they really mean is I don't feel incompetent. I don't feel ugly. I don't feel invisible. Well, you can feel all those things at every age. Think about language. Think about your, your friend group. Think about think about the tendency, which we all share, no judgment on any of this, to have for the people our own age when we go into a room at a party, at a meeting.
Yeah, that is very true. What do you feel like when you were interviewing those 80 and 90-year-olds? How did they see aging? If they're at the kind of, I don't know.
A lot of them, it was a skewed sample. I did have the wit to know it. Mm-hmm. But I started out, the catalyst was a comment of my in-laws who were booksellers well into their late 80s. And they said, why don't you write about something people ask us all the time? So when are you going to retire? So I started interviewing people over 80 who were in the world. And in hindsight, it was because it was safe. It was because they were still, a word also, watch use that. Do you use still for something that for something normal, like driving, having sex? Job? What's it still doing there? Why shouldn't old people do that, right?
Yeah.
But it made the scary aspect of aging, of loss, of disability. It kept it at enough of a remove that to get to enter into the water, I literally envision a big river.
Yeah.
And I'm honest and I'm deeply curious. And I knew that I wasn't getting at the whole underbelly.
Yes.
Or bad word, at the whole picture.
Yeah.
So you asked me what these older people thought about about aging, they were outliers. A lot of them didn't, I'm not old, or I'm different from those old people. It's amazing how many older people talk about older people as them.
My dad, I was telling this story.
Well, maybe your dad, and your father it's fantastic, but he is an outlier.
Oh, 100%.
And we live, in this society that says you are aging to age well, or a phrase I really dislike, to age successfully, age.
Oh, wow.
Productive aging.
Something else to strive for.
What it really means in Western culture is to succeed in looking and moving like a younger version of yourself.
Oh, that's so true.
And not age. And that takes money. And that takes privilege. And above all, it takes luck.
Yeah.
Privileges aren't really a form of luck. So, it's fine. We need those outliers. We need those examples. But because those older people, many were not reflective of that, I wouldn't trust them as a sample. On the other hand, that was Dr. Robert Butler, who coined the term ageism, and to whom I dedicated my book. So I learned a whole lot from him, which brings the story full circle in a way I'd love to think I imagined when I started on this, but I didn't.
Of course you did.
How, it just depends on the person. I mean, if there's one fact I would like to put in everyone's head about aging, there are many. There's a whole book about it, but it is that the longer we live, the more different from one another we become.
Oh, say that again. The longer we live.
Heterogeneity increases with age. Every newborn is unique, right?
Yes.
But 15-year-olds have way more in common socially, developmentally, physically, than 40-year-olds, who are way more like other than 60-year-olds, and so on out. As we lead our lives and are increasingly shaped by an intrinsically unique set of experiences, we get more different. The older the person, the less their chronological age reveals about them. So, all stereotype relies on, all prejudice relies on stereotyping. All stereotyping is ignorant and stupid and wrong, but it's not especially wrong when it comes to ageism, but it is especially ignorant.
Yeah, especially ignorant, 100%. Can you say that again? The older the person, the more?
The more different from one another we become. And the nerdy way, the way scientists put it is that the defining characteristic of old age is heterogeneity.
Yes.
Which is kind of a lovely paradox.
Separatism. Yes.
Defining characteristic is that there is no defining characteristics, except that a lot of times.
Yeah. What that does in my mind, though, is because I am similar to you, curious by nature, and also I imagine we both share the status quo challenging part of ourselves, that makes me even more excited about aging, because then it's like there's even more different varieties of people to connect to. Not that I can't now, and you raise a very good point, is automatically going to your age group or somewhere that you're comfortable. And perhaps that's a good starting point of, like, get curious about the people around you that aren't the same age as you, that aren't in the same.
Try to, just making a significantly older or younger friend is an ageist act.
Yeah.
Think of something you like to do and find a mixed age group to do it with, or just go talk to someone who is very different from you. You in age, could be a younger person, as could go either way. Although I'm getting up there. I was like one of those things, like, oh crap, really? I am almost always now the oldest person in the room.
Okay, final question. I want to actually talk about your book and the TEDx talk as well, right at the end. But what would be your reaction to a ridiculous message like that is not age appropriate? I'm using air quotes again, which means bullshit factor. What would you say to the people that say there is a particular way to age, and I'm going to use your term, successfully age, and that, I think by definition, is expected to be, quieter, not flamboyant, not interested, whatever. What do you say to those messages?
Well, it depends on the context, always.
Yes.
No one likes someone who's preachy. It's never a good idea to put people on the defensive.
Okay.
I didn't know any of this stuff 15 years ago. Didn't know a lot of it 5 years ago. The point that we're, and I'm always learning new things. I'm always putting my foot in my mouth. So we all get these things, and especially it's a complicated world. What language changes, mores change, so there's never one right answer.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's various sort of snappy answers, but, the idea is that, it's not age appropriate. Well, what does insert the age feel like? There is no such thing as how it feels to be a certain age, because it's different on you than it is on me. And that depends on where we live and our ethnicity and our gender and our circumstances.
Everything.
And whether we're hot or cold or hungry or full, a million things.
Yes.
So to gently, poke at the idea. I mean, there is no such thing as age appropriate, except for, really children,
Yeah,
small.
true. Yeah.
And even, by the time you get to, I'm making this up now, don't quote me, but 9 or 10, there's things that one 9-year-old could do that another 9-year-old couldn't, or, perhaps wouldn't be the best move.
Yes.
So just to question that, that assumption, a really good all-purpose comeback to something when you've heard something that you think might be ageist, is simply, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Or where did you learn that? Where do you bump into that idea? And you don't want to do a gotcha thing, but also a really good technique is, I used to think that. And then I watched this TED Talk, and it turns out it's this thing called ageism or whatever. So that you are coming with genuine humility from point of, what? That was a new idea to me too.
Yeah.
Because at one point it was.
I love that. It's so much less like in your face and like, you're doing the wrong thing. Because
cancel culture. It's not a friend.
Yeah. So good. Let's talk about your book. Now, I'm going to get this title right. It's called This Chair Rocks, a Manifesto Against Ageism. And then your TEDx talk that we've already mentioned is Let's End.
X.
Oh, not sorry. I don't know why I always want to do that. It's like in my head, it goes together. But we're going to link to those. When you wrote that book, actually, did you get that? Was it the publishing deal in that room that you got in the end for the book?
No. I ended up a big fancy publisher published my previous book. Yeah. And I don't like writing books. Writing books is incredibly hard. I don't know how people do it all the time. But I realized I did have to write another book. So I sat down and made myself do the thing. So it was the book, and I took it into the fancy publisher that had the option to publish it. And it was a different editor. And she looked at me and said with a straight face, "We're concerned that no one else is writing about this."
Should be, we want to sign you right now.
Thanks.
You are on the leading edge.
They are, I felt like saying, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I managed to, I knew right then and there it was done. Meaning,
the line is,
I did manage to squeak out that I thought she should see it as a feature, not a bug. But I did not get the kind of, publishers are chicken. They all want to be second. No one wants to be first. And I ended up self-publishing it. The help of my partner, who has a lot of experience in electronic publishing. So I would have had the stamina or it's certainly not
to figure it out.
I certainly couldn't have handled, the printing and all of that stuff. And he did a fantastic job. And we did a great job. And I was already starting to be a public speaker. So I, went around with a box of books all over the place and then sold it to a new division of Macmillan, whom I shall name Celadon, who have been fantastic.
Yay!
But culture change is slow and people are resistant.
Yeah, well, someone benefits, right? It's a system. We're all swimming in the ocean.
I don't think they benefit. I think my publisher is going to end up making a lot of money. I know having been an editor and a literary agent that all authors are delusional, but I do think will be a classic.
That is a good ending note for me, having just started my third book. I'm like, yes. Oh my goodness. It has been a breath of fresh air, Ashton. I really want to encourage everyone listening, and similarly to what they're going to feel like about the patriarchy episode, if you are hearing this and you are having one of those oh shit moments, like no shit, oh shit moments, I love that. I'm going to steal that. Oh shit, no shit, or no shit, oh shit moments, please go and at the very least watch the TED Talk, because it is such a good, sorry, yeah, go.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to. All right. You want to say that again so I don't interrupt you?
That's all right. It's all good. I'll write it in the show notes.
I want to let people know that if you buy the book, that'd be great. And it is available in Australia. But it's not free. But I have been thinking out loud in blog form since I first got nervous about getting old. So, which means 2005 on my website, which is thischairrocks.com.
Yes.
And the blog is searchable by topic. So you can find tons of stuff there. And one of the things I did in the last few years was start a website with two colleagues called Old School.
Yes.
The Old Anti-Ageism Clearinghouse. Oldschool.info. And what we have done, it was an idea I thought, wouldn't it have been the movement to end ageism is emerging. It is real.
Yes.
And the evidence is that when we started Old School, there was no campaign section. And now there are almost 40 fantastic campaigns. Australia had the first national campaign called Every Age Counts. It is fantastic. The World Health Organization, not the World Old People Organization, launched a global campaign to combat ageism almost exactly 2 years ago. P.S. You can't find anything on the World Health Organization website. Go to Old School and enter World or WHO, or look at the campaign section, and you will find everything about every aspect of ageism, from campaigns to podcasts to language guides to infographics in one place. Everything is free except the books. Oldschool.info.
Perfect. It's so good. I have really enjoyed, like I said, I had done like research a little while ago, and then last night again was going in and out of your blogs, and I was just randomly, I just found myself a little breadcrumb and I kept on following and it's so good because you've written them across such a long period that you can hear how even the way that you're thinking about things has changed or deepened, or this viewpoint, it has become richer and richer and richer. And I'm just like, I just love it. So thank you. Thank you for your time. And especially since you've just gotten off a plane, and your generosity. And yeah, please, 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 if you're listening and you're realizing that this is something that you're doing without being conscious of it, pull it to the surface and question with the help of Ashton and her 2 websites and TED Talk and book. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening into today's episode. If you love the show, as I hope you do, please take the time to subscribe on your favorite pod listening platform and rate and review. And for bonus points, if you have a friend or someone who popped to mind as you were listening to this episode, why not hit the share link wherever you're listening and send them a little love bomb. Like, listen to this. Did you know this is normal? I really, really, really would love to get these beautiful stories into the hearts and ears and minds of so many more midlife mavens. And your help spreading the love is truly, truly appreciated. Thank you so much. I'm Kylie Patchett, your host, and have a spectacular day.